What is up, everybody? It's your girl Nico the Odd, and we are back with more litter. Why? Because apparently I'm a glutton for punishment, and I couldn't really get tired yet. Tabletop didn't run as long as I usually does, so that means I got about an hour to kill before I'm actually ready to go to bed. So, my vape is ready, I got water bottles next to me, and I don't feel like talking tomorrow, I suppose. So yeah, let's do more of this. Anyway, let's get back to it. As it turns out, I do have another choice. I'm not a religious person. I won't identify myself as such, or rather I can't. Sure, my grandparents didn't have to force me to go weekly, and let me turn the volume down some because you remember I turned it up for tabletop. Hear me? Sure, my grandparents didn't have to force me to go weekly. I'd happily join them. In fact, most of my childhood Sundays have been spent attending service. It's simply that as you get older, the more experiences you get, forming your own beliefs on things becomes easier, for lack of a better word. And at one point, it just stopped. That kind of thing. Nevertheless, I hold no disdain for it. Sometimes it does help. When things are really, really bad, when dreams won't stay where they should be, talking does a bit. It's also a good thing Father Norman's, well, he's not completely the pious man you typically expect. My unlikely friendship only probably happened because he's the kind of guy who's cool with the young ones, as he puts it so aptly. And he is surprisingly. It makes him easy to approach. Maybe he has something to say about the photo as well. It won't hurt since I've already gone ahead and went to Anselm at daybreak on my bike, and at the very least, I won't get shouted at by whoever answers the door.
Unless someone does that inside a church, I highly doubt it.
No, you don't. Actually, what you get, Cat, is you don't get to design characters, but you get to play 7 different people. I've already done Hannah. I've already done Isabella. I've done Hannah. I did her earlier. And now I'm on Zach, so my next one will be Marianne, and Rebecca, Ashton, and Luke. So you're playing different people's versions of what's happening. We're on a timeline that takes place between the 17th of October and November 1st. And I don't remember what day we're on right now. But the stories are intertwined, and each one of them can die. It is a possibility. They have paths that lead to death. And nothing else. The quick time events don't seem to be death things, they just seem to be things that make you have to do what you need to do to get past it. Which is not a bad thing. Despite its age, the Luxembourg Church is a thing of wonder in itself, with its high vaulted ceilings and intricate stained glass windows. One of the many gifts from the Ermengarde. I'm sorry. Every time I see Ermengarde, I want to say, oh my god. Yeah, but Ermengarde family donated to the community in its early days. Or so I heard from Rebecca. She mentioned this once, although most of it flew over my head back then. At this time of day, the church is mostly empty, save for a few visitors and ushers shuffling about, some muttering prayers under their breath. The scene of burning candles and incense permeate the air. The scene, that's right. Giving the place a general feel of reverence. Pretty welcoming, all in all. What happens when you accidentally hit your scroll wheel. Even so, I keep the noise my treads make to a minimum. Disturbing the quiet feels like a sin alone. An usher points me to a pew in front of the altar when asked where Father Norman prays. He mentions something about the good priest not being in good health. Ever since he was asked by a couple to bless their new home before moving in. This is the first time in days he's left his room. No surprise there. With the weird heat lately, even Rebecca caught something. Nervous little chap, the kid. Nevertheless, he leads me... Sorry, Nightbot distracted me. Nevertheless, he leads me close to the foot of the dais with a reminder to not stay too long before walking off. Seconds later, Father shifts and stands. He doesn't seem to have noticed me, and I have to give him a little tap on the shoulder. When he looks, though, to say he's surprised is an understatement.
Stay away.
Oh, shit! It's me, Father. His voice comes out as a whisper, almost inaudible in hushed, quiet restraint in deference to where we both are standing. Also, I just got an achievement. That's what the "It's me, Father" thing came from. But the trimmer is there. He focused on me with wide, bulging eyes, copious amounts of sweat appearing on his forehead despite the relative coolness of the place.
Father Norman? Keep your distance.
Hey, it's me, Zach, remember?
Stay away. Don't come near me.
It must be the fever talking, or whatever he called it. It has to be. I don't recall ever doing anything to him to drive him away from me like this. In all the years I've known him, he's been nothing but polite, nothing but accepting of people regardless of belief or status in life. For words akin to a threat to come out of him, simply beyond unimaginable.
Go back to where you came from. Leave.
Father, what did I do?
Leave now.
I extend a hand to his shoulder, meant to be reassuring, but he recoils. His ankle catches on the edge of the dais as he backs away. His shout when I attempt to reach out again echoes the entire hall, catching the attention of a few people inside. I try to keep a level tone, but the stranger's eyes trained on us. Panic starts to weave its way into me.
Stay away, demon. Go back to the hell you came from.
Father, it's okay. I only came here for some pictures I thought looked odd. I figured you might know something.
From my pocket, I fish out the photo I was trying to hand to him. Instead, he strikes my wrist away, almost like an accusation, and sends the photograph sluttering uselessly to the floor. Helpless, I can only watch him as he curls into himself on the ground, sad, blubbering mess whimpering to himself. He tips his head forward and begins to rock, his hands clasped over his ears.
That accursed spirit, so full of anger and pain. All those horrible things I've seen. Can't sleep. Can't eat everywhere I look. Go away. Go away. Go away. You're not supposed to be here. This is a house of God. Be gone, demon. Lord have mercy, God our Lord, King of ages, all powerful and almighty. You who made everything and transform everything simply by your will.
Oh, that escalated quickly. A number of people had moved closer, mostly just the gawk. Thankfully, as if to save him from being Thankfully, as if to save him from being an utter spectacle, two ushers come out, taking him away. One of them, the kid from earlier, shoots me an apologetic look. I can't even return it to him. Anxiety is a powerful thing. A firm little notion clings and eats and consumes at you. I can still hear his prayers even as they drag him away.
May he keep at bay and vanquish every evil power, every poison or malice invoked against us by corrupt and envious people. Then under the protection of your authority may we sing in gratitude.
It rings, hums in me as I left to pick up the pieces of this chaos. Back to square one we go. If there is salvation in this, I hope we find it soon. The moon is well into the night sky by the time I make it back home. My heavy treads and the sound of traffic outside echo in my ears, filling the empty room with some semblance of life. Nana would scold me if she ever heard me walk like that, but after the day I really can't give a damn about everything. The mattress creaks under my weight as I unceremoniously flop down onto it, and find myself looking at the piece of paper under my grip. As promised, Miss Wrights had my bike delivered back to my apartment. I found it parked on the rack downstairs with an invitation note tacked to it. In fact, be there, it said. If only there was that easy. But it gives me a chance to talk to her about that thing in their house. With a sigh, I let my hand fall to the side as if the bed alone was with the bed alone with the invitation. I think about it tomorrow when my head ain't muddled and thoughts of a headless woman ain't haunting with the haunting smile of a ghost. Belatedly, it occurs to me that I haven't eaten anything since I left this morning. An empty, gnawing ache makes itself known, but I can't bring myself to stand up. Today was a complete waste of time, and frankly, a disappointment. I don't like this. The lack of certainty, the disquiet, the lack of stable ground to stand on, the part where I don't know what will come tomorrow. Ever since that damn letter, everything has been thrown out of the loop. I wish everything stayed the same. The routine would have been easier to make sense of than this. I closed my eyes. I let the noise from the street below lull me to sleep. At the very least, that is the one thing that hasn't changed. Okay, so this is the day of the party. The melody carries along the hall before I cross the threshold. Solemn, but gentle and soothing. A reminder of what home is. Pa's firm but meaningful gaze, Ma's wistful smile, the warm rays filtering through the eaves at sunset, distinct smell of wet earth and leaves after a long day's rain, and our room. The room, Ma and Pa's pride and joy. A place where we once promised several springs ago. Yet it won't stop.
No, wait! Come back! I'll be good this time! Please don't leave! Please stay!
The floorboards are cold under my feet, more than usual. And then it usually is. It's the wall, more foreboding than what I'm used to. Farther and farther the room goes. Ma's singing ceases, and Pa, I can't hear Pa. Not above the raucous clanging and the deafening roar of gunshots, nor the screams replacing the comforting soft melodies. There is only the blinding fear. But then, when the light breaks, her skin is already taken on a sickly pallor, rotten in most parts, blood dripping from open gashes and lesions on her body. The bony hand grips Hannah's neck like a noose, staining the skin under it with vibrant shades of scarlet. Nothing but malice fills her gleaming eyes. A scream ripples through the air. My whole body feels distant. Every limb heavy with lead, and all unable to move at will. Oh boy. Not even so I can wipe the sweat beads forming at my temple. The rasping of my breath easily fills the room in the wee hours, while I force it back into a steady rhythm. There's a tightness in my chest and I can't shake it off. My heart is pounding again, and as if it's about to burst. Something cold is settled in my legs. Not the usual chill that comes and goes. Oh God, I think I know what's happening to him now. Not the usual chill that comes and goes with a passing breeze from the window, but one strong enough to sting, shackle, and leave a frigid sensation creeping up my skin. With every struggle I make, the pressure winds firmly around my legs, tighter and tighter and tighter, till it becomes too much, and my heart stops. Another draft sweeps into the room, bringing with it the iron tang of blood, thick, suffocating. Filling my nose with a foul, sickening smell as I shift my gaze downward, and slowly it comes into view. Oh, that's fucked up, yo. Mouth stretched in a hideous smile, eyes brimming with nothing but madness. The stench of gore taints the air around me, and I can't look away. It's her. From the terror of death to her uncanny twisted features alone scream. I try to open my mouth to shout, to ask for any help, but my voice left my body altogether. All I have is a painful realization that no kind plea will ever save me from her. Then suddenly, the bed dips. Oh, that's fucked up. That's a fucked up nightmare to have. Thankfully, that wasn't a quick time event. I thought it was gonna be. Also, I had to mute myself for a second. The brutal plunge back into myself jerked me awake. There was no ear-splitting scream, no wild thrashing of limbs, just a painful, constricting awareness that something has wound itself tightly around my neck. I waste not a second pulling it, a blanket, away, but allowing myself a few minutes to steady my breathing before getting off the bed. Inhale, hold, exhale. 1 step, 2 step, 3. But the dreams have gotten worse. Ever since 2 days ago, not long after that the small curious flashes that I'm used to, but vivid ones that linger. I still feel the blood in my hands, the putrid smell of rotting flesh, the sickening crunch of bones breaking with every movement, and her cold, chilling eyes as they bore into me. I draw in one long, ragged breath, and before I know it, I'm walking out the door. Even in the waking world, it reeks. Hydration. The bench on the park is far from the most. The bench on the park is far from the most private place for the Luxborn, considering it's for the blah blah. It's far from the most private place for thoughts in Luxborn, considering the location at the heart of the bustling city. But in the early hours of morning, it provides enough peace and quiet for any poor problematic soul who happens to wander here. The city is just waking up, a little later than usual. But knowing what day it is, one can't fault it for being a little tardy just this once. Yet neither the pleasant morning chill nor the soft twittering of birds does anything to banish the image. Every single one has rooted itself in my head, the claws digging deep into what was no longer a safe place to hide.
London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down. London Bridge
It used to be easy, finding some pretense of peace under the guise of sheer optimism, following regular routine. Now I don't know what to make of it. Sometimes it's easier to run, easier to hide when everything's falling apart. That's why you don't have to be the first to witness it when it does. It worked when things went bad in the movies, after all. It also worked with Mom and Pa were taken from us. Although the sentiment's a little hypocritical when you think about my little talk with Miss Wright the other day. But that's just how it is. Maybe it really is better if I just... I got an achievement for that. Little tiny voice gives me pause. When I look up, a little girl, maybe 6 or 7, is peering at me. 2 wide eyes, overflowing with what can only be a natural curiosity one typically sees in children. I vaguely note the Sir Goretti, the Saint Goretti uniform she's wearing before returning her greeting.
Hey kid.
Kylie.
Oh wait, that's her goddaughter.
Kylie?
That's my name. Mama said it's rude not to call people by their names.
It's also rude to introduce yourself to a stranger, kid. She then flops down in the empty space next to me. Her little legs, still too short to touch the ground, swing in tune with the song she hums under her breath. I don't mind kids. Nana would often invite ones in our old neighborhood to give them treats. Of course, by then Sis and I were too old to play with them, but you get used to the commotion eventually. It's not completely unpleasant as most people would imply. Kylie seems to be a well-behaved kid anyway.
Oh, sorry. Nice to meet you, Kylie. Is Mama here?
No, but my big brother's with me. He's taking pictures with his camera over there.
He points to the far end of the park, the one closest to the street where a kid's taking shots of something above him. It doesn't look to be birds because there is one on the side of... Because all of there is one on the side of that park of the park and our
I don't
buildings.
see what's so interesting with the tip of a building, though. I'd take pictures of dogs if I were him. They're cuter. Do you have a camera too, mister?
Yeah, I'm actually a photographer.
Mama said I'm too young to get a camera.
I'm sure your mama will eventually give you one. But won't you be late for school like this?
Big Brother will get us there on time. Rowan promised Papa. We aren't going to be late. It's sports day. So it's not good if you keep looking like that today.
Hey, wait a minute. Is she one of Becca's kids? I think she is. I think she's one of Becca's students. That actually makes sense. Why she's here now and mentioned sports day, because it's sports day at Becca's school.
If it ends up raining and we lose, it's your fault.
All right, I'll try not to upset the clouds today, kid.
Is it because you're sick, mister?
Before I know it, a smile has spread over my face. They say kids ask the toughest questions sometimes, and they sure do, with how sincere Kylie looks. Lying feels like doing her a huge disservice.
No, not sick. Just having a very, very bad day.
Why is that? Is that like when my big brother ate all of my pudding? He did that once and then cried. It wasn't very nice of him.
No, you should have kicked him in his knee, kid.
Yeah, I think so. You see, there's this mean girl. She's giving my friends and I a lot of trouble. Hard to keep up when things are like that, you know? Especially when you can't do anything. It's kind of scary. Makes you wish things will just stay as peaceful as they used to be.
Maybe she just wants to be friends with you?
I highly doubt that. She already hurt one of my friends.
What if she's just sad? Or maybe she just wants help. That's what happened with Melody. I let her borrow my crayon when she left hers. Now we're playmates.
This kid's adorable.
It's not really the same thing, Kylie. What she did, they're pretty bad things.
I still think there's another reason. Did you try talking to her? That's what Mama said I should do.
I don't think that'll work either.
Well, you haven't tried. She's not wrong, mister.
You haven't even tried yet. You sound like Rowan. You're just scared, mister.
That is not a lie. That strikes a chord. Maybe it's the honesty in her tone, or simply the truth in its words itself. I don't know why, but I can't help it. I laugh. Not enough to disturb the elderly couple taking a leisure walk nearby.
Why are you laughing?
That's nothing. You're a really smart kid, you know that?
That's what I've been doing, ain't it? Going full speed ahead, then backtrack when things got tough. When the going gets tough, stay in my safe zone because that's what I know. Once Dr. Navarro said I should be the first one willing to deal with my problems before anyone else. I didn't show up for our next appointment after that. But he's right. And though I hate to admit it, knowing what I've seen, this kid makes a good point too. I've been so caught up in thinking. I've been so caught up in thinking that there might not be a way out. That maybe there isn't, or maybe there is, but that doesn't mean I should just leave it up to fate.
You better get to school though, or you'll miss sports day. You should have won yourself some awards, alright?
Alright. Can I show it to you when I do? That can cheer people up, right?
In the distance, her brother calls for her. I took that as a sign to leave. I got things to do to face. The first few steps, they say.
Nah, I'm good now, I think. Thanks to you. Besides, Mr. needs to go. But you should show it to Mama and Papa. I'm sure they'll be proud of you, Kylie.
I will. Thanks, mister. Bye.
Give her a little pat on the head before heading my way. A small gesture of thanks from a stranger she didn't know she might have helped. She may not understand it now, But even though she's at such a young age, she already has this understanding of things. But maybe when she's older, when the world no longer seems too big for her.
But aren't you going to help me, mister?
Fuck.
With what?
Confused, I glanced back. Whatever cheer our little talk brought vanished under the shadows suddenly as shadows does suddenly dancing in my eyes. The frigid air was almost completely not how the morning chill should feel, more like bitter stinging unwelcoming. And the kid?
What do you think, mister? Are you going to help me?
You know, because kids aren't creepy enough without being possessed.
Leave us alone! What did we do to you?
The response never comes, however, because when I blink, it's gone.
Hello? Mister? Are you okay?
For several passing seconds, I let my stare linger on her face, waiting for any sign of another change. But all that remains there is a carefree smile of a child. None with spite, none of the cold, bloody smile.
Nothing, huh? I really need to go, Kylie. It was nice meeting you.
See you again, mister!
I break into a run. I don't look back. Not even as I bump into a couple of passerbys as soon as I'm out of the busy street. I'm going insane. This is what it is. And if we don't do something, we all will. The Tremors follow me even as I get home. I'd hoped a little stroll around the block for a few hours would help. Instead, I'm assaulted by more images of her smile, the loathing in her eyes, the stench of gore, the horrid crunch that comes with every movement she makes. Even old memories have been sullied by her, and Ma's song no longer sounded as sweet as it meant to be. In the end, all I got was a sinking feeling that I would never be rid of her image, along with the ridiculous idea that that may or may not even work. The sun is low on the horizon when I make it back. For the first time, coming home feels more like a chore. Not only did I arrive to an empty room, because as soon as I open the door, I'm greeted by none other than
Sup, Z-Man?
Ad Asshole.
I told you we should have called him before going here.
It's fine.
It's Ashton I see first, sitting comfortably on my couch, munching on a bag of chips with both feet propped up on the coffee table. Whatever verbal stone has made its home in the pit of my stomach automatically flies right out the window and inside of him. But before any exasperation can set in, my attention is taken by another occupant in the room. Isabella perched on the only other chair in the room, attempting to make herself smaller. It seems from how closely that she's hugged her arms against hers. Nevertheless, she gives a small smile when she notices my stare. And yet somehow, there isn't any warmth in it, like it's supposed to have.
Hey, Zach. Sorry we just barged in here. Ash was...
Relax. Z-Man gave me a copy of the key himself.
Only after you broke the 13th one? I can't keep replacing them every time you think it'd be a good idea to break into my apartment. And stop calling me Z-Man!
I didn't break anything this time.
Ash, just because I gave you a key doesn't mean you can just stroll in here whenever you want to. And, hey, is that my...
Ash smirks at me because, of course, he had the gall to smirk knowing what he did. He pops in what is very likely the last piece of chip into his mouth and folds the wrapper neatly on the table before throwing it on the trash and throwing it into the nearby trash. From her chair, Isabella shoots me an apologetic smile, and as soon as the foil hits the waste bin, with a small, dull thunk. Common sense dictates I should be angry. But after everything, having something normal play out in front of me, no matter how childish their antics can get, I can't bring myself to muster even a tidbit of it. Behind me, the television starts to blare music loud, blaring the music for the end credits of a movie. They have likely been waiting for a while if Ash has gotten impatient enough to rummage through my cupboards and watch something.
Of course he eats all of it. You know, I was saving that for the weekend. Did you at least share some with Bella?
Don't worry about it. I'm good, Zach.
Really? But it's free food, you know? What was that you usually say? You don't say no to free food? What happened?
No, I'm just not hungry.
But she ain't dealing alright. Ashlyn shrugs at the question in my eyes. I can't be the only one who finds the vibe she's giving off to be odd. The guy has no doubt already caught wind of it.
Aye. But if you want something, just say so. I've got a fully restocked pantry right here at your disposal. Still not a 5-star level thing, but for an empty stomach, it'd do. Just say the word.
Thanks, Zach. Maybe next time. Food is not really what we came here for. Ash, he's the one who...
She casts a brief glance at Ash, and for an instant he sits up. Every trace of amusement gone up from his face as he claps his hands in front of him and leans forward. A minuscule gesture meant to ease, yet a grim expression on him tells me a different story altogether.
All right, you two, what's this about? I don't like those looks.
A short but tense pause follows. They're both stalling. Under normal circumstances, I'd wait. With these two, the more you force it, the more they'll clamp down on it. But as a handful of seconds continue to slip by, the unsettling feeling in me also grows within. Soon it turns into impatience. Before I can demand a response, one of them finally speaks up. It is Isabella who's first to break it.
We just thought we should check on you. After what happened to Rose,
Please don't tell me something happened again.
No, nothing. None so far. And we're keeping it that way as much as possible.
Ash, it's not that easy. This isn't some...
We don't know that. Let me...
The bitter frustration in his tone is impossible to miss, but he catches it as soon as Isabella draws back. He allows himself a moment to breathe before dropping to one less harsh, more tempered, gentler.
Let me look at this first, okay? I agreed to help, but you've got to let me handle things from now on.
I already told you everything.
There must be something we're not seeing in this just yet. We'll sort this out, but no more silly ideas and running around on your own. You're making people worry more than necessary. Becca, especially.
So everything's fine?
Depends on who you're asking. How are things with you? Anything odd?
Tell the truth.
Good, I guess. Admittedly, how things went down at the housewarming party last night threw me off a bit.
I'm not asking about that. Remember the letter thing Isabella's been yapping on about? I'm asking about that kind of odd.
I look at him. Gape, more like. Serious expression doesn't waver despite the perplexed look I shot him. There's a brief second I let pass before I wait for the heavens to fall or something. Doesn't come. The sky is still bathed in a bright reddish hues and waits the night to arrive. Luxborn is still the same busy city, and everything in my room still appears as it did a second ago, including my unnerving ticking clock of my wall clock. But if Ashton, calm, cool, collected, always logical Ashton, taking an interest in something or someone must have fucked shit up somewhere.
Well, the dreams, they're a lot worse than usual. There's a woman now, ever since we saw that letter. I don't know if it's the same one Isabella talked about. Maybe it is, maybe it ain't. I really don't want to go back to sleep sometimes. Last night was the worst. Anyway, why are you asking about this?
Rose's death isn't just a coincidence, Zach. It may have something to do with... I may have...
But I didn't show her the letter.
Wait, stop right there for a sec, Bella. I thought you ain't buying this stuff, Ash. Just the other day, you said the exact same thing.
I still don't, but even Rebecca, out of all people, claims there's something. Whatever this is, someone has got to look into it. Everything about this screams shady.
Are you sure you even have the time? Ain't you busy with your current case?
I got taken off that one.
You didn't say you were taken off your case.
I just got the news this morning. Apparently, the higher-ups think I'm doing a horrendous job at it. It doesn't matter, though. If these two cases are connected like I initially thought, then regardless, I'm on the right track.
Are you sure we should even be doing this?
Doing what exactly?
There's someplace we'll visit after this.
Too vague for comfort, Ash. And please don't tell me you're bringing her with you.
His affirmation comes in the form of a stare, but that alone says all I need to know. What I pointed out is giving him pause, and though his voice is thick with hesitation, he addresses Isabella.
You know what? Zach's right, Isabella. You don't have to come with me.
It's not myself I'm worried about. It's you. I'll just do this myself, if it'll get you into more trouble with your superiors. At least I can make up an excuse why I need to be there.
Don't be ridiculous. You're not walking in there without me. Besides, I think it's a little too late to back out now. Have you two seen the news this morning?
I haven't, actually. Mama called, and I was busy.
Oh, did her dad die? The change in the air around her, while it's small, cannot have gone unnoticed, and it takes every willpower not to ask. Probably the only thing reining in my curiosity is the fact that Ash himself hasn't brought it up either.
No problem. It should be in the afternoon news as well.
Who the fuck's this? He grabbed the remote and cycles through a number of channels until he gets to a news report about another guy who's been found dead in the early hours of the morning. Burned alive this time. Oddly, no fire spread, and whatever damage has been contained within the place the body was found. The room itself, however, was completely vandalized. Help me. Help me. Help me. Another murder, the authorities claim. Isabella and I knew better. None of us shifts even after the report ends, but the room has suddenly felt stiff. Stifling. Ashton's eyes have gone hooded with the appearance of what is restrained anger, and the remote in his hand creaks mildly under his grip. The stone is back in my stomach. A tiny little gripping at my insides, growing with every passing second, and dread sinks in. In the thick of it, Isabella's voice is the only one that breaks the hush. Small, weak thing on its own that wavers unevenly between words, but every syllable heavy with meaning.
This is because of that thing, isn't it? I did this somehow.
No, I don't think you had anything to do with what's happening with this thing. I think the other people in that house found that letter before you found it. When it fades, all that's left is the air of doubt. In the air is her doubt and fear, while all we can do is cope. Six filth. We can still fix this. I think we can still fix this. I think that's what I want to say. Question is, what do I want to say to her? I think we can fix this, though. I have no doubt that we can fix this.
It ain't too late. We could still fix this. There's 3 of us here.
Let me adjust my cooling. Actually got kind of warm in my room. Go.
4 if you count Rebecca.
No, she's staying away from this.
Actually, I think she's already in it. She lifts her gaze at me, eyes steady, shoulders squared as she's holding it against the baffled look I give her. Although in the next second, it immediately softens and takes me by surprise nevertheless. Those brief moments, it's like I face a different person.
I don't want to involve her in this any more than I already have. Both of you as well.
I already said it. That's completely out of the question. Stop asking.
Still in all, that's 2 extra heads who can do the thinking. Between us 3, I'm sure we'll figure something out pretty soon.
Don't make this whole thing sound like it's a piece of cake to deal with.
It ain't. But better than sitting around, yeah? Plan is still a plan.
You're going to shoot yourself in the foot one day with that kind of thinking. We don't even know who's doing this. The last 2 murders might just be similar incidents done by 2 different suspects.
Hasn't stopped you from going after them before. Remember that time when you...
Okay, stop right there. There will be no retelling of that incident today, Z-Man. Or ever.
Keep calling me Z-Man and maybe I will.
Suddenly, Isabella laughs. Though muffled by her hands, it rings light and easy against the thick tension in the room. Still a far cry from the usual cheer she carries, but brings a welcome shift in the otherwise dreary mood.
Thanks, you two.
I'll tell you about it when he's not around.
Give it up, Z-Man. She's not interested.
Who says I'm not?
Ash makes a face, but chuckles at the jest despite him.
Why am I even friends with you two?
And like this, most of our worries ebbed away, if only for a few moments. They take their leave, mere minutes close to sundown. But regardless of the lighter mood, it has been said that little has been said of their plan. Only vague hints of what they're aiming to go after. While it ain't any of my business to know, something about this whole thing still gnaws at me. A tiny passage through urges me to do something as well. At this hour, the streets are once again busy with people heading home after a hard day's work. Little of the bustle matters to them as they step out into the crowded walkway, however. Ash especially. There is only his goal in mind, and I'd wager there's nothing I can do to stop him at this point. He's probably decided on it long before they made the decision to drop by. But despite that, Isabella still lags behind. A worried crease in the back of her is back on her forehead as she watches Ash leave to get his car.
Something wrong, Bella?
No, actually, can you check on Becca for me after this? I really didn't get the chance to tell her where I'm headed off to. Tell her I'm okay, and no, just that. That's all.
You sure I should skip on that part? If she finds out about this, she'll be angry. I don't really want to deal with angry Rebecca. It gives me a stomachache just thinking about it.
Neither do I, but I'll handle it if she gets mad. Just make sure she's safe and tell her to be careful. You too. Take care of yourself.
Almost abruptly, she pauses. The gaze in her eyes hardens as she lapses into another one of those long-distance silences from earlier. This just ain't because of the whole fiasco with the letter anymore.
I don't want what happened to Rose to happen to you guys as well.
This one cuts deep. Before I can ask about it, Ashton returns, casually swinging his car keys in one hand and gesturing to
Come on,
Isabella.
we don't have much time. Shirley's waiting.
Who's sure? Oh, right. Don't answer that. I don't want to hear it, you huge dork.
Says the person who gave her stuffed toys names. Batcat? Really?
It's cute. Yours is just weird.
I'll see you later, Zach.
She spares me another smile and I watch her walk away. Only now did it occur to me that none of those she gave today were ever really reached her eyes. I make a grab for the back of Ash's parka. Staggers briefly before correcting himself and shooting me a confused glare.
Is she alright?
What? Who's okay?
Isabella. She's been, I don't know, out of it today? Did something happen earlier?
Scowl on his face says it all.
She's actually been like that this morning. I'll ask, but...
Just do me a favor and watch over her. We have no idea what we're dealing with. I don't know what happened to her since the last time I saw her, but from how she's been doing today, whatever it is, it seems like a pretty big deal. Wait, you didn't annoy her again, did you? Because I swear to God, if you did, you've got another thing coming for you.
What? No. Why would I? Just so you know, I already apologized for the one at the movie house. Granted, she deserved more of an apology, but I meant it that time.
I'm just asking. I'll take your word for it. But if you can find out what's bothering her, that'd be nice. Honestly, I don't think it's the letter this time.
I'll see what I can do.
Make sure you keep yourself out of harm's way, alright?
Yeah, you too. Don't do anything reckless again.
Reckless, no. but I can't make you to promise I won't do anything. After seeing that, there's no way in hell I'm going to pretend there ain't a problem when there is. This is a really big one, and I'll be damned if I let anything happen to you guys while I sit here. I'm done running when things get tough.
That's my boy. Big boy then came about. He's about to argue for a moment, but
Look, bro, if things ain't good, I'll be the first one out. But allow me this one thing, aight? Just this one time. If it doesn't work out, you'll be the first one to know. You can laugh then, or berate me all you want. But please don't ask me to step aside like I'm incapable of doing anything to help.
I have no idea if it's the look on my face or the tone of my voice. Ultimately, although his mouth presses to a thin line, he nods.
All right, stay safe, Zach.
When he stumbles into the sidewalk and allows the afternoon crowd to swallow him whole, I'd like to think that a tiny gleam in his eyes is the closest we can get to optimism in the situation. Whether that alone will be enough to give me a peaceful sleep tonight remains to be said. Night falls, and despite my best attempts to sleep, it continues to elude me. With her image still stuck in my head, flashing every few moments, it catches me off guard. With Ma's lullaby still echoing my ears, no longer the soft tune it once was. A terrible gnawing at the pit of my stomach. No wonder I can't bring myself to drift off even for a little while. It's not as if there's a complete lack of things to do while waiting for sleep to come, if it ever will. And at 2:45 in the morning, I find myself cleaning my photography equipment for no other reason than just a pastime. Let's see. I haven't actually seen Rebecca this time. Although, if I'm gonna be honest, it's not the night terrors that are keeping me wide awake tonight, but the anxiety, and I hope that I'll hear from Ash or Isabella soon. And for what's perhaps 40 seconds of time, my eyes shift over to the end table where my phone still lies still. I've not heard from them since they left. They haven't promised to call, of course, but a small part of me wishes they would have the common sense at the very least. Waiting is a tough game, and with the concern stretching out into minutes far longer than usual, it's impossible for more unpleasant thoughts to not enter my mind. Moreover, it does not help that when the clock finally strikes 3, my hand is still. Oh shit. It'll be complete and utter lie to say that my heart didn't leap straight into my throat for that brief second. My whole body has gone motionless and my ears strained for any further sounds. A couple of tense seconds pass. Nothing. Of course, how the old building I'm staying in, the power fluctuates ain't anything new. Even now, when this is how every now and then this would happen, leaving few tenants in a rather bad mood. Nothing unusual anymore after a few years of living here. But this time, the sudden hush brings with it a stillness that has raised the hair on the back of my neck and sets my heart beating hard and fast in my chest. Something reeks in the air, and in an instant, this place is no longer home. It's a prison. Every rational fiber in my being screams at me to leave. To force myself to swallow and keep my head clear and lay down all my cleaning tools and begin to gather them together, the rest of my things scattered around the table. The camera's body, lens, filter, diffuser, phone, anything my hand could reach, but the resulting panic eye. Like a nightmare, the scent that reaches me first, a foul putrid smell, filling my lungs with the heavy stink of death. My fingers clamped tightly on the camera, holding it closer to my body, and if the tiny thing would provide enough protection for what is with me in the room, it won't. But it's the only comfort I have.
Hello? I know you're in here. What do you want?
Something moves behind me. A soft scuttling over the wall, followed by a squelch and painful creak of what can only be rotting flesh and bone. God, I really can't speak. Blown? Blown is a word now, right? Without hesitation, I whirl around, my fingers and camera ready, patiently waiting for another movement.
Leave! Leave now! There's nothing here for you!
There's a brief moment of silence, and for a short while, I think my pleas worked. And then, with no warning, the shuffling resumes, and along with it are the sobs of a woman. Oh shit, where is she? Oh shit, where is she? Oh god! Oh Jesus! Christ almighty, what the fuck? That's not okay, game. This is why I couldn't play Fatal Frame, okay? This is not okay. Jesus! The light flashes fleetingly for one last time, allowing me a glimpse of her grotesque, misshapen features before it once again is lost in the darkness. All of a sudden, her tune changes, no longer a soft cry, but a high-pitched shriek, brimming with pain, grief, anger. Every ounce of courage I muster flees from my body at the sound. The next thing I know, my hand's gripping the knob and I am wrenching the door open. Her wails follow me as I flee into the night. That was not okay, game. That was not okay. Pacing has always been more of Ashton's thing than mine. When I want to think, I sit and let the minutes tick by until an idea comes to my mind, or my pulse settles down. And yet, dried leaves and twigs crack under my shoes as I make another pass at them. Terror is too mild a description of what this is. There was no way in hell I'm going back. Whatever she is, pleading won't work. The moment we saw the letter, she's been after us.
I can't run. Not this time.
Nearly 2 hours have gone by since I left the comfort of my room for the solitude of the park. 2 excruciating hours since I started making calls. No one is answering. Not even Rebecca, who always keeps her phone line open in case of other people need her. Or Isabella, who frequently checks hers for any messages and readily responds as soon as she can afford. It does not help that Ash hasn't said a word where he went off to as well.
Damn it! I knew I should have asked him before I let him leave.
Knowing him, he can be anywhere. But there's really only one place he's likely to be at this time. The sun has already peeked over the horizon when I make it to the mansion. I have no idea what I'm expecting to see when I get there. There's Ashton first and foremost. Part of me wishes my assumptions are correct and he's somewhere close by on a stakeout. But I've never been lucky with when it comes to that kind of guessing. And even after I've made my rounds in the immediate vicinity, I can find neither hide nor hair of him. Calling him does no good either, considering how awful the signal is here. He can't be too far if he's really here, but if he is, he would have already noticed me by now. Instead, there's only silence. The kind too quiet for any sort of comfort in. Even the trees seem to have fallen asleep with the rest of the mansion. Obviously, what's happening around it. A small island, oblivious to what's happening around it. A small island of stillness in an otherwise fast-paced world. No wonder the whole of Aslam feels at odds with the rest of Luxembourg. While the city is alive, growing every minute, every second, pulsating with life, the village remains unchanged. It's not surprising that the legends still live up to this day. And while she's here, walking the Tower halls. And beyond me, the mansion looms ominously. But now ain't the time for fear. Even if Ash is not here, I've got to let the Wrights know what I've seen, what's in their home. And whatever grievance Ash has with them, it doesn't matter. There might be the grounds for imprisonment, but they do not deserve a brutal death at the hands of one malicious spirit. I'm sure Isabella would want the same thing. I head straight to the door without a second thought. It takes a few rings with the loud sound of foreboding stillness before I hear the footsteps on the other side.
Only a Nazi would knock at such an ungodly hour. Where's that damn butler when I need him?
Before long, the door swings open widely, and Mr. Luke Wright is standing there behind it. Wait, what's up with the behind him? Seething would be a complete understatement to describe him. It's like this, I have no doubt why Ash would find him a suspect.
You again? It's bloody 6 in the morning. What the hell is it now?
Listen, sir, I know this is not a good time.
Oh, it's not a good time. Did you even check the clock before coming here? I bet you didn't. Unlike you, the ones living in this house need to sleep. Come back when people are actually awake, or I'll call security on you.
Before I can get a word in, he slams the door in my face and bolts it shut. Much finality.
Wait, sir, you gotta hear me out. You're both in danger if you stay in there. Have you seen the news lately? Everything's not a coincidence.
Only silence answers me. Maybe if it was Miss Wright. Or who am I kidding? There are limits to how far a person is willing to believe you. Then again, I didn't believe Isabella when she warned us. Now I'm here, desperately trying to save people even if I'm aware it's completely out of my own capacity to do so. Is this what they call karma? If so, this is one horrible way to turn things around. Taking people's lives, playing with people's fears, making them feel useless.
You're around, ain't you? You here? Inside this house? Listening, watching, or whatever it is that you spirits do? What do you want? You're already dead. Leave us!
Nothing. I don't even know who I'm talking to or if a sane person is supposed to be doing that. The only thing I got is a feeling of foolishness washing over me. Or perhaps it's just me losing my mind. Out of other options and any other ideas, I let my hand slide off the door surface and fall listlessly to my sides. I can go back to Luxmore, try to find the others, try to get out of this mess with them, or let them know how much deep shit we are all in. Both sound good. Either way, my loitering isn't helping at all. I let the quietness calm me for a few moments before standing up and heading out to fetch my bike. It's quite the distance to Luxmore, but if I hurry, I'll reach it and maybe... The rustling stops as soon as I turn around and strain my ears for another movement around me.
Yo, Ash, you there?
No answer. If he's here, I've just missed him earlier. Already my feet are moving and searching for him for a second time. It won't hurt to double check. Triple check even. With how big the property is, he could be anywhere. If things ain't so urgent, they ain't so dire that lives are at stake. I probably just have to wait for him to show up again.
But damn it! He needs to realize what exactly it is he's dealing with.
That is not quite a petty criminal. That is not quite just a petty criminal. He can simply be thrown in jail. That is somehow beyond the authority of his police badge would ever give him. The guy needs to stop playing the big damn hero and sit down and chill. My breath is coming short, shallow rasp by the time I make it back to where I started. Still not a sign of him, and I'm beginning to think it was just a waste. I was just wasting my time here. But that's when I hear it. I recognize the melody in a heartbeat. It's Mom's favorite song. I listen for a while, trying to gauge exactly where in the house it's coming from. My feet start moving before I can stop them. And there, as I circle a corner, from a room just on the first floor. A single window is open and I can't make out whoever's inside. However, I'm sure the singing is coming from up there. Still, why do I hear an old tune here of all places? I don't know. It's not an obscure song by any means, but it's pretty rare to find someone who knows this. And for some reason, Dev seems to follow that song around. Panic lodges itself at the base of my throat at once. Whoever is humming it might be... I don't want to be a pessimist now, but on the off chance that it's Miss Wright.
Shit.
That's an interesting noise. I shouldn't just barge in there. I can put myself in danger before I can save anyone. Ash will tell me the exact same words. Might even write me a dissertation about why it's a bad idea if he, why that is a bad idea if he is so lazy. But damn it, god damn it. Question, do I enter the room or do I wait for Ash? Waiting for Ash probably won't do it. You know, we're gonna enter one though. Let's try it. I can search for Ash, but what if it's too late to do anything by then? With how big this place is, he can be anywhere, and that's just as likely, and it's just as likely to be the time we come back. Everyone else, with how big this place is, he can be anywhere, and it's very likely by the time we come back, everyone's already bit it to dust. That and the cries grow louder against my ears the longer I linger. It's almost impossible to ignore, drawing me like the moth to the flame. And for a moment, I let myself shudder, taking the uneasy feeling off my head. It can't be a good idea, not by a long shot. I still got to try. Funny how a couple as high profile as the Wrights, they don't seem to have any security detail patrolling around. There are a few guards here and there, but one will expect them that they'll have more considering the size of the place. It works to my advantage, though. I really can't complain if there's a high chance that I might get arrested for what I'm about to do. Luckily, the window is wide enough for me to fit through it without making any noise. There's certainly no going back now. But as soon as I step into the parlor, all of it ceases. I find no trace of the woman I heard crying like I expected to. The room is still empty at this time of the morning, and I'm left standing awkwardly in the middle of the hush. Maybe she just hid somewhere.
Hello? Are you here? I heard someone earlier, and I'm here to help.
Hoping for an answer, I just let the question hang in the air. But several seconds merely go by without a word, or the slightest movement, or to indicate where there's someone there's someone in there. It has to be here. The stories I've heard, the things I've seen, it takes effort to keep my brain from going into that line of thought.
I'm not going to hurt you. If you're here, say something.
Nothing. Am I just hearing things? No, I'm pretty sure I heard someone. But with no one responding, I can't help but feel a little silly like this. And the awareness that I've just trespassed in the house for nothing but someone because of some voice prickles at me. Suddenly the silence feels uncomfortable and a needling anxiety slowly creeps up my back. I should get out while I can. If it ain't there, it ain't there. I don't spare the room another glance as I walk back the way I came. Out into the window, leaving before someone else notices.
I thought I heard a servant moving around here. Turns out it's just a rat scurrying about. How unpleasant.
My heart shoots up to my throat. The window is a few steps away. I should be able to escape, but instead, out of some foolish impulse, I turn around. Perhaps it's because the only impression this guy has left me with the few times I've met him is nothing but unsettling.
This ain't what you think it is.
You're quite the distance from the kitchen, I'm afraid. Perhaps I should lead you there.
Someone's in here before me. I wasn't here for what you're thinking. There was sobbing and...
The first blow knocks the wind out of me, sending me heaving and crumbling to my knees. Tears well up in my eyes as the pain swells as he twists my wrist behind my back.
You've gotta listen to me.
Then again, dirty thieves aren't welcome in my kitchen either.
For a moment, there's only silence and sudden piercing headache. This time, the back of my head. The room abruptly tilts on its axis, dimming. On the verge of unconsciousness, I can only hear the shuffling of a foot, the thud of the floor of the door being closed, and a woman crying, asking for help. I know no more. The pain is worse when I come to, a sharp piercing ache somewhere at the back of my head begging to be noticed. But it's nothing I can't handle. Wearily, I open my eyes expecting to be greeted by sunlight. The hell am I? However, the walls that welcome me are unfamiliar. When everything comes to focus, I recognize the place for what it is. A cell. A dark, cramped, the only light coming from a moonlight outside streaming through the sole window, barred by thick metal bars. Memory rushes back to me in sharp bursts. The mansion looking for Ashton and a familiar tune and a woman crying. All the while, my head still aches from the hit I received.
Still better than a morgue, I guess.
Gingerly, I pull myself up, stretching the cramps from my shoulders as I do so, but stopping when a sudden movement induces an acute stinging pain right through my arm.
Damn, they got me good. What time is it?
As expected, they've taken away everything I have in my person. My wallet, my cell phone, my keys, meds, even a small pack of gum. Protocol is protocol. In the first place, ending up back in another cell ain't in my agenda. The first time was not a pleasant experience, and it certainly won't be either. This certainly won't be either. Considering who was likely put me in here, it could be much worse. The bars are cold to my touch as I approach it, looking for the person on duty. They usually allow us to contact someone, and Ashton at least has to know I'm here. He'll be pissed. I'm quite sure of it. But he's the only one who can help me prove my innocence and get me out of here. However much I don't want to rely on him for this. The hallway to the front of the cell is empty, but voices flow through further in, likely the poor officers assigned to late duty. Alright, I'm gonna take a little look at my branching tree real quick. Let's see, because I think I had ending 3 with Hannah. Yeah, that should be 3. So I just need to be sure where I'm headed with this. Also, sinuses again. Jesus Christ. The hallway in the front of the cell is empty, but voices float through from further in, likely poor officers assigned to late night duty. Judging from the snippets of conversation I saw today, the topic is over a snack is that moron who thought it wise to cross the rights. They use other names too, most of which I'd like to have words with them about in the future. But really, I'm in no position right now.
Excuse me. Anyone?
Silence.
Excuse me. I need to make a...
Blood freezes in my veins, and my grip on the bars tightens as the revolting stench reaches my nose. More than the gore, the foul smell of death hangs heavily in the air. And against my better judgment, I turn. Fuck me, man! Her face is the first thing I see. A gruesome sight on its own, eyes gleaming with nothing but malevolence, blood oozing from large punctured wounds on her head. Mouth open wide, a voiceless scream. I clamp down on the compulsion to retch. On instinct, I step back, putting as much distance as this cramped cell will allow between us. The bars rattle as soon as my shoulders hit it. A hindrance, not freedom, but to safety.
Get away from me!
She moves, and a short, bone-crunchy twists. And I know there's no escape. I scream for help before I know it, jolting the bars with as much force as I could.
Somebody, get me out of here! Anyone, please!
Bugger off! Some people are trying to get some sleep here!
No! She's here! You've got to let me out! She's gonna kill me! Someone! She's...
You've unlocked a memory fragment, huh? Oh shit, did I die? Holy shit, did I actually die? Huh. Alright, do I want to start in on Marianne's? That's the question. So, no, I don't. I'm going to go ahead and call the stream here, because I already did a long stream earlier. We'll pick up with Marianne's when I pick up on this, if not tomorrow, the day after. I don't know, I may play it tomorrow, depends on when I get done with work. But yeah, man, that's intense. Okay, so I am done with Zach's part. I have no idea if Zach's dead or alive. I'm gonna have to find out. I'm curious. The curiosity is gonna kill me. Let's see what I got here. Zach did might not have met a good fate at the end of that. Oh shit, he did die. Alright, well, I did say that I was gonna try to save him. And I think I'm gonna. But I'm pretty sure that Zach died. And we can't have Zach die. So, out of curiosity, I'm gonna actually go back. Because I'm pretty sure that I actually did kill him. So I'm gonna load the game. Shit, that's a long way to go back. Eh, fuck it. Oh shit, I saved over it. God damn it. Well, fuck me. Well, ballsack. I just fucked myself. So, I guess I am done for the night. I'm not gonna go through the whole spiel. You know, if you're on the stream and you like what you've seen, please hit the follow button. If you're watching this on YouTube, remember to like and subscribe and all that nonsense. I'm gonna go back because I'm gonna get back to where I was in that save. And yeah, that sucks. As I had no idea that was gonna happen if I did that, so I gotta play through all of Zach's thing again to get back to that point. I don't want Zach dead. I am working my ass off to make sure that everybody is alive. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get back to where I was when I got to the house, and I'm gonna figure out what I need to do to keep Zach alive, and then we're gonna go from there. Because yeah, my goal is to keep everybody alive, and I've been succeeding till now, and there is no way I'm gonna let that precious boy die. So until next time, you guys, remember to save often. You will live longer. Peace.